life. Like I can tell my story and other people can be like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe you've been through that. Mm-hmm. But the reality is someone else over here who maybe I would look at their story and I'd go, you really haven't been through anything. But to them, that's the worst.
That's right.
Like that is so I think, on one level you have to have some grace and compassion for people and whatever it is that they're going through. And don't just look at your story and go, well, their story's not as bad as mine.
Right.
Yeah, well, God's grace may not have shown up as powerfully in their life as he has in yours either. Like, God doesn't give you more than you can handle. Like, he knows the limits of you, and he knows the limits of himself, which is limitless. So as long as you're walking in his grace, there is no amount of suffering. There is no amount of pain. There is no amount of unfortunate events that could possibly happen to your life that God can't carry you through. Welcome back, Zach.
Hey, it's good to be back.
I'm glad we can make fun of you to your face this week.
I heard you guys made fun of me a ton. Actually, I think you
Who
texted
said
me
that?
and said,
I did.
hey, we're making fun of you on this podcast right now.
Yeah.
I wanted to listen to this week's podcast that's being dropped.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember exactly what I said to you.
I don't know. It was the one where Zach Thomas was on here, Zach Fleer was on here, and then Drew and Robert, but not the third Zach.
Yeah, but I want to know
Three's a
exactly
crowd.
what I texted you.
We upgraded.
I really think you just said, hey, on this podcast, we are roasting you.
That's what I said. I said we're roasting you.
We are just roasting you right now.
It was the roast of Zach Clunt without him being here.
I feel like I missed out.
Had your own TV show. It was
We missed
our
you.
way of making you present while not being present.
That's right.
I love it. And I can't wait to next week when I can respond to these roastings.
Yeah. My favorite thing was you were in Panama posting videos letting us know that you weren't doing anything.
That was the first day. To be honest, I did not know.
Hey guys, we made it to Panama. We don't know what we're doing.
Fuck, a lot of the trip was secret. Like, it's like, what are you going to do? I don't know. We're going to get on a bus and go somewhere.
like
Where?
Real life escape room.
I don't know. They gave us clues to
How do we get
piece
out of this?
together. And
Yeah. So we decided to roast you. We figure if you're doing the same thing there that you do here, we might as well just pretend like you're still here.
yeah, I mean, just as productive. So, yeah, that's
Actually,
great.
some would say more productive.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been more productive there.
No, you were more productive.
Oh, yeah, it was more productive. I at least was somewhere else and walking around at least.
Part of that's my fault, though. I work next to him, and I have a lot of questions and talk a lot. So, yeah.
It's true.
Yep. Yeah, it is. It's 100%.
Are
true.
they ever good questions? Or?
Never.
They're all questions that can be Googled. Number one,
Probably.
top pet peeve of my life. It's questions that I will ultimately just Google.
And nowadays, it's anytime you ask me something that, Gronk will give you the answer to.
Is it Gronk?
It's just every time.
Is it Gronk?
I appreciate him committing to the bit. It's
Yeah.
like, he just never says it right.
Gronk made ChatGPT.
Yes.
Isn't that the same thing?
Rob Gronkowski. He made it.
Yeah. We all know who Gronk is.
I mean, it's nearly as cool as he is.
Yeah. I think he's really cool.
I mean,
Yeah.
Do you not like him?
if you could have him as a friend, you would take him as a friend.
I would. Yes.
You
I have
would?
him in AI version.
Good.
right.
Good. Fantastic. What are we talking about today?
Hey, we're going to talk about this guy.
No
Do you know
way.
him?
I do know him. Not know him well, to be honest with you. I don't know much about his life, so I'm excited to learn along with our listeners.
We're gonna dive in
Ooh.
to your childhood.
Yeah.
Like that? Dive in.
Yeah. Just
Swan dive.
For the record, this wasn't my idea.
We know.
Kind of was my idea, but not really my idea.
You said, hey, let's do, some questions.
You said you wanted to
with
do my
us.
life and you wanted it to be interesting. And I said, well, the first 20 years was probably the most interesting.
Great. Because, I mean,
Yeah.
after the 20 years, like, you pretty much just sit in your office preparing sermons and you go home.
Yeah. That got a Zach
Man.
Thomas laugh here from the producer chair.
If that's
At
if like a
least
movie
one
was made of
person
your
on-
life,
yeah. I'm just thankful one person on this staff reads their Bible.
It's on my desk.
It's on my desk.
Oh,
Wow.
right. That's
Is
fantastic.
that like one of your senior pastor, lead pastor jokes? Is they just build their sermons and that's it?
That's what I hear a lot of people say. Like, what does a lead pastor do? Like, I've been asked that question. Like, as a youth pastor, like, what do you do all day? Just like read your Bible and pray. It's like, yeah, that's it.
They say that like it's a slight. Like
Yeah, like that's all you do.
Yeah.
You find a way to make that 40 hours.
I'm pretty sure that was
whatever.
exactly what John's response was to the issue in Acts was, we really don't want to do anything but read our Bibles and pray. So you guys need to take care of this issue.
You can figure it out.
My favorite thing when I was a student pastor, I had students coming to my youth group for years.
Yeah.
And I had them like multiple times ask me like, what's your job?
Like, you
Like,
work here?
Yeah. Like, where do you work? And I was like, I work here. They're like, this is what you do? It's like, yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Like you get paid to hang out with us.
Yeah. Yeah. It was awesome.
Yeah. You know, and they're like, oh, well, you get paid to do this. You care because you're caring because you get paid to do this.
I skipped student ministry because there was no amount of pay you could give me to just hang out with kids.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Can imagine.
The dollar amount was not high enough.
Yeah. Kind of a stick in the mud sometimes with fun things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that's not one of those areas in my life where I said no and God didn't say yes, because that would have been tough.
It's been a hard pill to swallow.
I'm not doing
there.
that. And God goes, yeah, you are. I'm like,
Actually, I need you in that role.
yeah, that never happened. Praise the Lord, it never happened.
That's good. That's good. So anyway, we're going to talk about your childhood today. So maybe just kind of give.
This is going to be a therapy session.
Yeah. So
I've never had therapy for it. So
This podcast is sponsored
that's-
by BetterHelp.
better help or better hope.
Yeah.
both. It's a combo site now.
Is better help and actual counseling like?
It is an actual counseling thing. Yeah.
Maybe they'll give us money for our podcast.
Ooh,
Yeah.
not a sponsor
Yeah,
yet.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's right. So why don't you tell us a little bit about like where you grew up and kind of your family dynamics, and we can continue to ask questions kind of after that. So
I grew up in California, Missouri, like
so
17
area.
miles or something like that from here.
that's right.
Mid-mo, as they say. I've learned that.
Born
didn't
at
know.
I was born at Capital Regional Hospital,
Oh, right here in JC.
right over there,
Wow.
or maybe St. Mary's. I was born in one of the hospitals here in Jeff.
Okay.
I think it was Capital Region. I think that's when I was born.
What was your weight?
You went to about 3.
How much did I weigh?
Yeah, how much you
I
weigh?
was a bit. I was like 9 pounds something.
Yeah. That checks
That
out.
tracks.
Yeah,
That
I think it
tracks.
was all in my head.
Yeah.
I'd ask you to stand up, but you'll be out of frame. That way people can, if they've never met you before, they could see.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I'm tiny.
Yeah, okay.
He could star in that new Minecraft movie.
My kids loved that movie.
Blockhead. You liked that, didn't you? Robert's like, what's Minecraft?
I didn't know where you were going with that. I was like, I guess. I mean,
Wow.
he's cool like Jack Black. I don't know.
Wow, that's great. This is starting out well. You guys are treating me like my childhood.
How the
Wow.
tables have turned.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we'll continue because at this point you were born. We're not making
It was a
fun.
9-pound baby with a big head. That's
Yeah.
that's what we've accomplished so far.
So was
It's
I.
been
It's
good.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
very petite.
You were?
Yeah.
You were what, like 10% of what you are now?
Yeah. Petite.
It's extra small, petite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I carry it well.
Okay, so you're born here in JC.
Yeah,
What's
the cool thing
next
about
for
Zach is he has as much hair now as he did when he was born.
I probably had more. Probably had just a little bit more. I was a very hairy baby.
All right.
What
was your question?
You guys.
What's next? You were born, and then what? That's my question. What happened after you were birthed into this world?
You know, I would say that I
Hold on. He's got coke in his nostrils.
All right, I'm good now. We're talking about
Wow.
your life, your childhood.
got it. Well, I was, early in my childhood. If you were to ask me probably before the age of 6 or 7, maybe 8, I would have told you that, I thought my life was just like everybody else's.
Yeah.
So had a mom and a dad, just like everybody else has got. And, but the only thing that was different was, and I kind of started to figure this out when I was in like kindergarten or so, maybe, I don't know. I had a different last name than the rest of my family.
Yeah.
Which was, I don't know. I was like, oh, well, maybe they just, special.
You came out 9 pounds. You're like, he's strong. That's what we're gonna call him.
Yeah. Only it wasn't even that. It was Mallinson.
That's right.
Yeah. So not only was that, it was like, Mallinson, Mallison, Mousehole. There was all kinds of names that I got when I was a kid.
Did you?
But Scritchfield was the name of my parents and my sister. And so I never really, I didn't really know what that all about. So I would say up to that point, pretty normal. But when I was I probably would have been 8 or 9, somewhere in there. My parents got a divorce, and that starts the whole like custody thing.
Right.
Staying the weekend here, staying the weekend. And one day we're driving home. I'm with my dad at the time, and we're driving home in this S10 pickup truck, going to drop me back off at Mom's house, and he just all of a sudden says, "Hey, I don't think you're going to come on these visits anymore." That's weird.
Yeah.
Okay. He says, "There's something you need to know," and I was like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "I'm not your dad." Like,
Wow.
I was like, "Oh, wow," that explains the last name thing. So,
But you've been calling him dad for the last 8 years.
yeah, I thought it was my biological father.
Yeah.
I was never told until I found out in a truck on my, that would have been like 3rd grade. So Walker's 9. So I'd have been 9.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there. And that's how I found out. Yeah. I don't remember anything after that. I remember being told in the truck ride. I don't remember what I did when I got home. I don't know. I can't tell you the conversation was. My mind has blocked all of that out.
Yeah.
I can't tell you. So that was like the first traumatic moment that, like, oh, my life isn't normal. Like, there's something not right here. There were other things, now looking back on my life before that, there were things that happened that I could tell you that would lead me to believe that we're not normal.
Sure.
Just incidences. Like, I remember one Christmas, we got, my sister and I, we had to have been like, I was probably like 5. She was like maybe 4. This is probably my earliest memory that I have, period. This will, if you're watching this is going to be a lot of joy to your life.
I don't know if that's true.
Oh, it's like I watched this today. I was depressed when I started, and I was more depressed when I ended. Like, wow, I feel so much better about my life.
Thanks for joining us.
We'll get there. Stay with us. Don't quit. And so I remember Christmas. We got this. What do they call those? Like those little Jeeps or whatever with the battery, and what are those things called?
Like one of those you sit in them.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yes, RC car, but like you sit your body
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Like
a body car.
Yeah, like whatever one of those things.
Battery operated car.
my parents had one. They call it a Gator.
Yeah,
it's one of those.
But
things.
it's like the kid one.
Sure.
The
Yeah.
little plastic thing that's got
Yeah.
the battery that lasts for
Plastic
10 minutes.
dashboard,
It
yeah.
charges for 3 days. You play for 10 minutes, and then it's
done.
It's like the worst thing ever. You paid all this money for something that
Can't go in grass.
has
It's terrible.
Yeah, it can't go anywhere.
Yeah. That's right.
It's true.
You mainly just sit in it and push a horn.
Yeah.
because the battery's never charged.
That's right.
That's so true.
They're the worst.
You sit in it and the battery goes dead, and then you're begging your parents to push it. It's like, well,
That's it. I'm not gonna do this.
should have got you a bike.
I hate toys I have to push.
Yeah.
As a dad, I'm like,
It's the
no,
worst.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, you're getting ready to figure out here in a second why I hate these things. So my sister and I decided one morning, this after Christmas, before our parents got up, that we were going to take this thing outside.
Yeah.
And we'd had like one of those ice storms.
Oh, yeah.
Like where the ground is just a sheet of ice.
Yeah.
Like that kind of ice storm. Like we had one here 2 years ago or something like that.
Yep.
yes.
Well, somehow, I don't remember how, but somehow my sister got on the ice, and we had a really steep hill in front of her house, and she like slid down it, right? So
Yeah.
she's like hanging onto a tree and can't get back up the hill.
Gosh.
And we're like outside in our pajamas.
Yeah.
We're 5 and 4 years old. We know what we're doing.
Oh gosh.
And so I decided that I was going to go down and try and save her. And so I got down to where she was at. But
Yeah.
at this point, she's so scared I can't get her to come back up the hill. I was able to make it back up the hill to show
Right.
her, like, hey, you can do this, blah, blah, blah. And so I go back down the hill. Well, finally, our parents wake up, and they find us outside. And I remember that story because when we went inside, not my dad, who I thought was my dad at the time, took her and put her in the bed with them and made me sleep on the floor as a punishment.
Oh.
And so I was punished and she was coddled. And at the time that didn't make sense to me, but knowing what I knew at 9, looking back, it did make sense. Like, was it actually his child? And obviously what happened when I was 9 lets you know that he didn't want me to be his kid. And so and so I look back on things. I remember another story. We were playing video games. This is probably when I was like, this is like right before they got divorced. We'd got a new gaming system, like one of those, like one of the original, like
Atari or Sega Genesis or
Super
Sega.
Nintendo?
I think it's Sega Genesis.
Oh, Sega, yeah.
Yeah.
Sega.
Yeah. If Travis Boyd's watching this, he loves this story because he makes fun of me for it all the time.
I do hear this story often.
Yeah.
I haven't heard it. I'm excited.
Oh,
good.
And so we're playing this.
I don't mean to say I'm excited. I'm sorry.
I want all of our viewers to know that
Maybe
this
excited is
is
the
how
wrong
my
thing.
friends respond to my childhood trauma. They laugh at it and then make jokes about it.
I didn't mean to respond that way.
That's how Drew responded. Oh,
No, it's
good,
okay.
More popcorn material.
Okay.
Like
It's all right. For those off screen or those watching off screen, is Zach Thomas laughing at me too, so it's okay. And so we're playing this game, and I'm winning.
yeah,
I'm like, hey,
dominant.
I'm dominating.
Yeah.
Games. They're new and ish. And as I'm winning, the next thing I know is there is a controller hitting me in the back of the head, like it's been chucked at me, and I'm told I can never play again. And so,
Real piece of work.
looking back after that moment in the truck, you begin to realize, oh, things weren't as normal as you thought they were.
Right.
Your brain makes you believe whatever this is me. And I think it's the grace of the Lord that he allowed my mind to do whatever was necessary to handle what was going on in the moment.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and some people I think don't understand that. Like they view it as a negative thing, whereas I look back on my life and was the event negative? Yes, but I can still see God's grace in it because at that moment, even in my mental state, God had protected me just in allowing me to view that in a way that didn't destroy my life.
Yeah.
Like I was considered the kid that was always in a good mood at school, and I was never in a bad mood. I was always happy and joyful, and didn't have any issues with them.
Do you think there was some like
Nature versus nurture?
No. Naiveness, like some naiveness to it, like just didn't know any better, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I think everybody's normal is their normal until they are exposed to something different.
right. That's good.
Yeah, there's a level of dysfunction that you probably didn't realize you were in.
Oh,
You know what I mean? And
Unbelievable.
dysfunction,
unbelievable.
which is remarkable, and we'll talk about this later. I'm sure we'll get to it. Just like the amount of dysfunction you grew up in,
Yeah.
yet you don't see much of that in the Robert Strong today.
Right.
And that's just
Oh well.
Yeah.
Talked about bring my wife on the podcast.
okay. Well, there you go.
That's next week. But even so, like I'm sure there's so many other things that are part of that. Like you're from 0 to 8 or 9 that you just don't remember, you don't have any knowledge of, but you have been able to kind of just block out of your mind. And I think it is from the grace of the Lord. Not having to think about those or dwell on those things by any means. So
yeah. And the memories are weird. I probably have. They're actually becoming more as I get older. I think the Lord is gracious in that. In my younger years, I don't know that there would have been any benefit to trying to relive some of the stuff that had happened at that moment in my life.
right.
I think some people get so fixated on going back into their past
Yes.
that they don't realize that their past is not as important as their present.
Yeah.
Amen. That's good.
That's right.
There is there times in your life where it's good to wrestle with your past? Yes.
Sure.
Is there times when it's good to talk about it? Yes. I'm not discrediting any of that.
Yeah.
But is there somebody at that door? Anyways, I thought somebody was coming in our door.
We are expecting something.
I'm expecting a coffee.
Yeah.
So
Somebody there. I don't think it was,
Oh, there he is. Good call.
I thought I heard you. Oh, it's Walker.
You got a coffee
Look
for
at that.
me?
My hero. Come here, bud.
Here,
You gotta
come on.
come here. Come here. You gotta say hi to the podcast people. Say good to see you guys. Say my dad's the best in the whole world. Say it right here, right where they can hear you.
My dad is the best person in the whole entire world.
That's all that matters.
Wow.
Good job,
What do you
buddy.
think of
Love
Drew?
you.
Yeah, what do you think of me?
Yeah, come back. Say it in the mic. They got to hear you. They can only hear you.
It's a good question.
Drew is not cool.
Oh, let's go.
got him.
See, buddy. Love you.
Didn't ask about me. Have a good day.
See you, buddy. Well, I knew I didn't like him.
Wow, that's his son.
That was
Jeez.
trying to give him a different life.
Yeah.
And here you are trying to
But you
give him the
teach your
same
kids
one.
respect.
He did. He was
Yeah.
being honest. You want him to lie?
Honesty.
You want him to lie to you?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like he did.
And so I think for some people, they underappreciate the way God sometimes protects us.
Yeah.
Like I think sometimes one of the difficulties in counseling is knowing the appropriate time to bring things out and when not to. Because I think sometimes God has left something where it is because he knows we're not ready for that. Like there are things that happened in my life that I did not remember until I was in my late 20s, in my early 30s. And even now there are memories that I'll have that I go, oh, wow, that happened. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That had I tried to deal with all of that at one time, that wouldn't have gone well.
No.
And so, there's some things that are just that way. So,
Which is interesting you say that because a lot of counseling, especially, I mean, as former student pastors, we've seen this a lot with students, even young people. They try to deal with it right away and all of it right away and kind of ruminate on that trauma and can actually cause a lot more, problems than things it can solve.
Yeah.
Because it's like just ruminating on the bad things that have happened to you instead of the way forward, so that's interesting. So you're 8 or 9. Okay, you get this news here, and then tell us a little bit about. Oh, we can go backwards, or we can go forward, if you will.
So, he, that guy, he's out of my life now.
Yeah.
Like when he said that, he meant it. Like we never had another visit. To this day, I don't have any contact with him.
That was it. Like you never have contacted him again.
No.
Wow.
I mean, we had interaction because my sister was his biological child, but he was out.
Wow.
So my mother, that was really kind of the beginning of, bless her heart, but not picking good men.
Yeah.
Like it was, and really, looking back on it, he's probably that guy, the first one, is probably the least abusive of all the ones she's had.
Yeah.
And so she dates some men for a little while, and then she gets married again.
Yeah.
And so that's when I'm, that's probably 2 years later. And there's some stuff that happened in there. I remember we moved to Iowa or something. I know we moved to Iowa. I can't tell you anything that happened during that stretch. I only remember one time my sister's dad kidnapped her and brought her back to Missouri, and the police had to come and take her out of the home or something like that. It's very vague.
So how long were you in Iowa?
I don't even know. I can't tell you. I know we were there, but my memories. I can't tell you a single memory of our time there, but I know we were there.
That's interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's gone. That's just not there. So I don't know. There's a memory somewhere in there of a babysitter I didn't like, but I can't even tell you. It's like I just know it, but I can't tell you
Any details about it?
No.
This would have been you're 9, 10, 11 years old.
10 and 11.
Yeah, 10 and 11 years old.
Yep.
Those are definitely some memories that you would have.
You would think.
You would think growing up. So
Yeah.
Yeah, really interesting.
Which is interesting. That's the age of my two youngest.
Yeah.
And so, their memories are hopefully will be of right now they just started baseball and softball.
Yeah.
Tony sings in the student praise team.
Yeah.
And so hopefully, in an age when they're building, good memories and things like that, I don't have any. There's none.
Yeah.
Which there's only, I'll bet you until the age of 11, less than 10 memories, I would say.
Wow.
Probably. Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
None of them good.
No.
I don't know if I have a good memory.
Yeah.
Yeah. My best memory was my childhood being over.
Yep. So 11.
So
You were going to ask that question, so I just asked it. Answered it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I know
I
you
did
got
have
your
I did
notes.
have a question on my
Yeah.
notes, and the question was, can you share a funny or memorable story from your childhood that still makes you smile?
Yeah, it being over.
It being over was yours.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. So
Poor
okay,
Walla.
you're at the age of 11. You moved back to Missouri.
Yep. So my biological mother meets a man, and actually before she married him, he's got some anger issues and things like that. And so I remember there was one time, discipline was interesting with him. He at one time he took a board and had holes drilled into it so that he could swing the board faster. And so my sister and I had gotten a spanking. I don't remember what we did. We took a beating that day, and her biological grandmother filed a police report.
Yeah.
And so we had to go down to the police station and have all this stuff done, and there's a restraining order put on him. And
Yeah.
so while that's happening, and if you're watching, you're trying to follow all this, it's not possible. There's just like micro stories along the way. And so while that's happening, he's been moved out of the house. There's a restraining order placed on him. My sister has gone to her grandmother's. I'm still in the home. And I want to say my youngest sister is about 6 months old or so at this time. And that's their child. So this boyfriend and my mom's, that's their kid together. I believe that's true. And so at that time, my biological father, who I'd never met
him before.
So that part of that story was, and this is what I've been told, so, as long as what I've been told is true, this is what I was told, is that my bio mother got pregnant. He didn't want a kid, so he joined the military and left. Never came back. Never saw him.
Yep.
And so I get invited to go to his house. First time I ever met him, and I don't even know what anyone was thinking. This would never happen with my kids, but somehow I ended up staying the night. Like the first time I met him, I was staying the night.
Wild.
And ambulance is called at like 3 a.m. in the morning. He's had a heart attack. He's younger than I am. He has an enlarged heart or something like that. So this is all the first night.
Goodness. This is the first night you were there?
Yeah.
Got taken away in an ambulance?
Yeah. Enlarged heart.
What?
Did he fake this or something?
I keep having bad reactions to this. I just want to apologize.
Drew likes to laugh in the awkward, so that's
Well,
where he's at.
If you don't laugh, you'll cry, I guess.
There's a reason that the videos where people get hurt on YouTube are the highest watched. People like to see pain. So Drew's
that's right.
just,
Drew loves
weird, morbid.
That's what he's watching all the time.
So that happens.
When it rains, it pours.
And whatever happened, I don't even remember what happens to him, but whatever happens to him. And I see him. I see him I think one more time. Remember, this is all when the new boyfriend or whatever is under restraining order
and stuff like that. Yeah.
So this guy hears about this. He finds out about it and all that kind of stuff. And one day he tells me, he's like, "Hey, either you can come live with me, or I don't want anything to do with you."
Okay.
Good. I was just like,
How old are you?
12, 11 or 12, somewhere in there.
So 5th or 6th grade. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was. Yeah, I think I was actually like 4th grade. So I was held back in kindergarten. Yeah. So I think I was an older. So I think I was 11. I think I was 4th grade.
Okay.
And so I just looked at him and said, "Man, I made it 11 years without you. I think I'll be fine." That was my answer.
Great response.
And so now he's out again.
Okay.
He's gone. And then my mother and this boyfriend had come up with an idea in the midst of all that of how to get the restraining order to go away, which was for this guy to adopt me.
Oh.
So my adoption.
Smart.
Yeah. So my last name comes from that. It's that situation.
Yeah. Your adoption for an elaborate scheme.
Maybe. I don't know. My memory, maybe he really did care about me. I don't.
Yeah.
He probably did at some level. Probably still does today. But either way, that was the atmosphere in which my adoption took place.
Yeah.
Was that. Whatever I won't speak to whatever the motivation behind it or anything like that was.
Sure.
But I can tell you that as an 11-year-old child that had been abused and there was restraining order and then a biological father that comes in and wants to take you back, but only if you abandon, only what little stability you've ever known. And then now you're being asked to be adopted, and I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's how I got the last name Strong.
Were you excited about that? No. No. So you can at least remember that type of feeling of because there's a lot of times where adoption is exciting, right? To have something you could actually call Dad.
I don't know that I understood.
Okay.
I never called him Dad.
Never called him Dad though. So even though he was on paper your father, never called Dad.
Nope. call him. I won't say his name.
Yeah, it's okay. You don't have to say his name. So.
Yeah. So, they get married.
Yeah.
I can't remember the order of events, but they get married. I'm adopted, all this kind of stuff. My sister's back in the house. Restraining order's gone. Nothing ever happened. So, we move into this other house, and now we're in. So we're gonna fast forward to like 7th grade, I guess.
Okay.
And he is what he is. And I get invited to go to church.
Yeah.
I'm on a track team, and there was 2 girls, Heather and Tamara, that invite me to go to church. And at that point in my life, I'm like, any reason to not be at home is a good reason to not be at home.
Yeah.
And the church was 1 mile from my house.
Okay. And what church was this?
Lebanon Baptist in McGurk, Missouri.
Okay.
And so I'm like, yeah, I'd love to go to church. And so I start walking to church.
Yeah.
Every Sunday morning, Sunday night.
Yeah.
Sunday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesday night.
Mm-hmm.
For like 4 or 5 weeks, maybe somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
And my adopted dad he hates church.
Yeah.
One of the reasons he hated it was at that time him and I would go fishing every Saturday and Sunday all day.
Okay.
And so in some regards, like he had his issues, but in some regards, I think I don't know. When I look back on him, like I don't know, he tried the best he could do with who he was.
Right. Who probably grew up in a dysfunctional home as well.
No, he grew up in a good home.
Did you grow up in a good home?
No.
As far as I know.
I'm sorry for that stereotype. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, grew up with 2 parents, still married this day.
Buzzer.
I
Good
know.
sisters.
Yeah.
Which there was issues and things like that.
Sure.
But, and so when I start going to church, that goes away. At least on Sunday morning, it does.
Right.
So there's some jealousy there. Plus, he's doesn't believe in God, doesn't want to believe in God, doesn't like the fact that I now believe in, or that I'm going to church. I don't believe yet, but I'm hearing the gospel and things like that.
Right.
And so I'm late getting home from church one night. There's 13 minutes. So I'm grounded 13 weeks from church.
Yeah.
And actually shared this story on Easter Sunday morning. But first Sunday I wasn't in church. I decided I'm gonna read my Bible that morning and read the Gospel of John. And through reading the Gospel of John, I'm like, I want to believe in the God that I just read about in the Gospel of John. So that's when I think the first moment that I really said, God, I want to have a relationship with you. Later that summer, I'm working so I'm 15 or 14 now. So I think I'm getting ready to turn. I think I started when I was 14, right before I turned 15. I'm working at Knick Knack Cafe in California, Missouri, as a dishwasher.
Oh,
to make money.
Knick-knack
Trying to save up for my first car when 15, and that way I can get a permit and learn how to drive and all that. So I'm working, 14 years old, working at Knick Knack, and I get a phone call, and it's my adopted dad that says, "Hey, your mother and I are getting a divorce." So, and I don't remember what all I had told the people at Knick Knack about that, but there was a guy there that was one of the guys I worked with, and he knew that my relationship with him was not great.
Sure.
And so he's like, he's making fun in my ear because he knew I was on the phone with him. He didn't know why though. So he's making these jokes, but now I'm instantly angry. And all I remember from that story was I turned around and punched the fridge and broke my hand.
Oh.
Yeah. Put
Goodness.
a big old dent in it. I remember the owner, Jackie, she came to work the next day. She said, "Hey, the next time you want to get mad and punch something, that's fine. Just know that you're going to pay for it." So,
Are you still friends with this person that was John in your ear?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I've actually invited him to come to Freshwater. So
That's good.
So that was interesting. I've given my life to the Lord. I hadn't been allowed to go back to church, but I'd been reading my Bible and really trying to understand who God is and how he works and those types of things. And so when I got home that night, I had a decision to make.
Yeah.
Because the decision is who, one's moving out, one's staying,
Yeah.
who you're going to live with.
Man, that's hard.
Yeah. And so I felt very convictionally, even at that age, that I needed to stay and continue to share the gospel with him. So I stayed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So up to that point, like your mom had been the stable, right? The stability.
Oh,
I mean, she's been the consistent, right? Through all of this, she was the one that was there for whatever, you were with her the whole time.
yeah, that would be true.
At this point, you made that shift.
I did.
Yeah. To continue to share the gospel with him.
It really was why, too. Like when someone says, why in the world did you stay with him? And it was like, because I wanted him to know Jesus. And I don't know why. She didn't know Jesus either. So it's not like either of them were saved. But that was just, like I knew instantly. On the phone, I knew when I got home I had a decision to make, and that was the one I was going to make. And I did. When I got home, she looked at me and said, who are you doing? What are you doing? And I stayed. Wow. Which, really made her happy.
I can imagine. Yeah. She probably been very hurt by that.
Went over real well.
Yeah. Okay. So from there, how long did you stay with this guy?
I lived with him about 9 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then left?
I had to leave. Okay. It was, leave or him and I were going to get in a fist fight.
Oh. Good. Yeah.
And by that time, I'm big enough that.
I mean, you can imagine 14-year-old, 15-year-old Robert.
Yeah, it might have been a year. I'm probably 15. I don't know. Yeah, I'm 15 by that time.
Yeah. And were you playing sports?
Football, lifting every morning at 5 a.m.
Yeah. So you're terrifying.
I weighed 100. I was probably 160 pounds, 165. But he was only like the same weight. I mean, he's the same size.
Yeah.
But he was built like
not going to the gym.
Built like me. Must have been a monster.
Yeah. Yeah. He was a monster in his own mind.
Yeah. That's what we used to.
Drew is a monster. Hey, he squatted the same as you today.
He did. And I'm not going to make excuses or anything like that.
We don't need to make this about me and how I squatted the same amount as Zach, and
that's right.
I'm getting stronger than him. We don't need to make this about me.
Yeah, let's not make it about you at all.
We don't need to.
Yeah,
it's about Robert. This is his podcast.
Oh yeah,
my podcast was a couple weeks ago when we had 63 views on it. So
so we should get.
This is all about Robert's.
Yeah, let's not get into your celebrations. Let's just continue to fiddle in my
it's not about
trauma. It's great.
Great.
Because you're getting so much enjoyment. Okay. Where were we?
So you were 14, just left your adopted dad.
So I went back to live with
back with mom?
Yeah.
Because you guys were going to get in fights.
Yeah.
Kind of what you said.
The abuse had somewhat continued. And
he was abusing you.
Yeah, I just got to the place where I'm just like, I'm not doing that anymore.
Well, at some point you're like, I'm not going to just sit here and just continue to take this from you.
I got to the point where I was big enough where I was like, I don't have to.
Yeah, I don't have to take this from you.
Yeah. And so that escalated, and some things happened that, don't need to be shared on a podcast.
Yeah. They did not go well.
Yeah. And so, it ended with the cops. Mm-hmm. Let's just say that.
Yeah. So you left him, went back to mom, because you're a minor at this point.
Yep. Back to biological.
You got to go with somebody.
Yep. So she's with a new person now because she had been with that new person while they were married, which is why they got divorced. Yeah. And so now I'm in new home, new person, and wouldn't you have it, another abusive one. Only difference is this one, before this point, they were all abusive to the children.
Right.
Primarily me. Mm-hmm. But now this one abuses her.
Right.
So the dynamic changes a little bit.
Right.
Of course, I'm big enough now where
you can defend mom.
You can try I can defend myself. So you can try if you want to.
No one's trying to abuse you.
But the problem became I'm also big enough to defend.
Yeah.
Biological mother. Mm-hmm. So I moved back in, and I get to be about 16, right before my 16th birthday, somewhere in there. I'm a first semester sophomore year, I think. Mm-hmm. The abuse had gone on for a while, and I did try to intervene a couple of times, but finally one day I intervened, and one night they were highly intoxicated, and I came home after a Friday night football game. Of course, so my adrenaline's already on.
Yeah, you're pumped.
Level 10.
Yeah.
I have two of my friends with me who are both antagonists at that point in our lives.
Okay.
And so I'm greeted by this man that she is, I believe, maybe married to by this time, who has abused her or done whatever. I think she had left to go to maybe my grandmother's house or something. And so I show up, and I find out about this, and I'm ready to fight.
Oh, yeah.
But I also know, in my own brain,
that'd be good.
be a bad idea.
Yeah.
Very rarely lost my temper, even to this day. I'll get mad, but I don't lose my temper.
Sure.
But I've got these two friends that are
Poking
egging
the
me
bear.
on. They're
Yeah.
trying to get me to fight him. And,
Gosh.
you know, by the grace of God, I didn't. I just left.
Yeah.
Because he had a frying pan in his hand, and I had already told him that if we fight, I was going to take it from him.
Beat him with it.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay. You don't have to say
it wasn't good.
You know,
Was he
I
hungry?
will.
Take it from him and cook him dinner? Or
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was-
Make some eggs for him.
Yeah, I was gonna scrambled cast iron brains.
Yeah,
That's what I was gonna
scrambled his face. So,
But I
okay,
didn't.
It's good.
do. By the grace of God, I left.
Yeah.
Right. The next day, I come back, and my biological mother is mad at me rather than mad at him.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so her and I get into it, and she takes all my stuff and throws it in the front yard and kicks me out.
Jeez. So you're like 16, 17?
16, right? I think I just turned 16 years old.
Okay.
Maybe. So maybe the end of my sophomore year probably is when this happens.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there. I can't remember. And so she throws all this stuff in my bedroom out on the front yard. And I think I grabbed like 2 or 3 changes of clothes and my football stuff and leave the rest of it in the yard.
Yeah.
And so we get in my car, and as it was my friend Brian Derrickson and my high school girlfriend at the time, we get in this car and we drive to his grandparents' house and go inside, tell them what happened. And Don Derrickson, I'll never forget it. Don Derrickson looks at Joyce. They don't say anything. There's no words that are said. Don Derrickson looks at Joyce Derrickson, looks back at me, and he says, "Today, son, you're moving in my house."
Yeah.
So I moved in their house, lived in for the rest of my high school.
Wow.
Yep, first home I lived in where I was not abused in my entire life. So
So you're 16 then to 18. That's
Yep.
where you're living
16 to my 19th, until I was 19, I lived there.
until you're 19.
Is there any contact with your mother or anything like that, or any kind of wanting to?
Yep, I stayed in contact only because I had a little sister,
Yeah.
and her and I and we still do, had a great relationship. And I knew that life for her wasn't going to be easy. She got to grow up, she got a different life than I did. But I don't know that means she got still what I would call a good childhood.
She still
She
didn't
saw a
escape
lot
it.
of bad stuff
Yeah.
because she grew up in a home where, and I don't know, her and I have never really talked about it. I don't know how much abuse she got, but I know she grew up watching her mom get abused all the time.
Yeah.
And so, there was a couple of incidences where I stepped in. I remember, I laugh about it, probably shouldn't laugh about it. I remember one incident where something had happened. I don't even remember what happened.
Yeah.
And I showed up at their house, and I'm hot.
Yeah.
I'm like 17, 18 years old. And I'm
Yeah. Fired.
level, 15 out of scale of 1 to 10.
Oh, good.
And he answers the door.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew there had been some abuse or something that had happened the night before. And so I showed up because I was like, hey, I'm here to take my sister. And so
Yeah.
I showed up. I was like, I'll raise her. Like, she doesn't need to grow up in this crappy situation.
Mm-hmm.
Hell on earth is kind of what it was. But,
Yeah.
and he won't let me in the door.
Mm-hmm.
And I just told him, I said, man, I'm not here to ask.
Yeah.
And of course, then, she's there. My biological mother's there. And so I just took the door and slammed it right against him and split his forehead all the way down to his nose. And that was the day, that was actually the second to last encounter I had with him. And I remember that day because I told him, I said, if I have to come back because you've touched my sister, I will finish this. I was like 18 and 19 years old, I think.
Yeah.
But I wanted him to know, and I was unapologetic about it. Like,
Yeah.
dude, if no one else will stick up for her, I will.
Yeah.
So that was the last encounter I had with him before I left for college.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
I knew there's nothing I could do.
Right.
As long as she was going to live there and do this, that was nothing I could do. So, yep.
Where does ministry come in to play? When does that start?
So I started preaching when I was 15. I got saved when I was 14. 1 year later, at 15 years old, I preached my first sermon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
week I surrendered to the gospel ministry at camp, student camp, and then my pastor had me preach the Sunday night service the following camp, right after camp was over.
Yeah.
Ezekiel 3:18, I preached about how the blood of lost people is on your hands if you do not announce to them the good news of Jesus.
Good.
It's a great first message.
That was my first sermon.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
Preach on.
Yeah. So
how'd it go?
Ezekiel the Watchman. I don't know. Terrible.
I'm sure we can ask.
Like
I'm sure we can ask Frank.
Like everyone's first sermon. It was not good.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Especially when you stand up there as the 15-year-old kid telling people, "Hey, if you people go to hell, it's your fault."
Oh yeah.
Like, that was my sermon. Pretty much was.
Yeah, that makes sense.
God has made us the watchmen.
Yeah.
Our responsibility to herald the good news of Jesus and allow people to know that the enemy is at the gates.
There you go. I like that. I mean, preaching sermon right after you get saved is fantastic. Like, dang.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was confusing for me coming in here as the newbie here.
Yeah.
You do have someone that you call dad.
I do. Yep.
Okay.
Pop.
Okay, pop, dad. Okay. When did that come into play?
Okay. So we make it through high school, and I feel like for the most part, there were some areas of sin that I really struggled in high school.
Yeah.
But I really did, like, I love the Lord, and even in struggling with that sin, it was an internal war that was taking place in my life. But I didn't party in high school. I didn't go to any of the football parties. I didn't go to none of it. I did none of it. But when I graduated high school, there was like this, I don't know, emptiness or something. Like,
Yeah.
finally the full weight of what in the world does my life mean. And so I spiraled for about a year, drank, partied, did all the things that I hadn't done up to that moment. And I was in it's kind of like there's like two moments really that changed the trajectory of my life. The first one was when the high school relationship ended.
Okay.
And I remember that day. I lived in a house next to the football field, and I had been training to go to Mizzou.
Yeah.
And so, in that particular evening, I can't even remember the conversation that her and I had or any of that. I just remember that relationship ended that day.
Yeah.
And I'd been partying and drinking and doing all this stuff, not living the way I was supposed to live. And I remember falling on my knees in the front yard of that house and telling the Lord that I didn't want to be his preacher anymore. That's what I told him. I don't want to do this. I'm done. And for about another, so that happens in maybe like January of 2007.
Yeah.
3 months later, I am at a party, and hold on. Let's back up. So let's go back 1 year before the moment where the breakup happens. I call Frank Whitney and tell him that I want to get my life right with the Lord, which is like half true.
Sure.
And so he gives me some parameters of what I need to do.
And how do you know Frank at this point?
He's my pastor at Lebanon, baptized me, started the ministry. He's the preacher that made me preach 1 week after the camp.
Great.
So I've known him and his wife, Tamara, their daughter, is the first person that invited me to church.
Yes. Got it.
And so, so 1 year before that, I call him, I tell him this, all this kind of stuff. He offers to help me get into Hannibal LaGrange University, college at the time. But I've got to come to church, I got to do these things, right? I don't do it anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Good start.
Yeah. It wasn't real. I said I wanted it, but at the end of the day, I wasn't ready to give up my sin. 1 year later, the breakup happens. I fall on my knees in the yard at the house, tell God I don't want to be his preacher anymore. 3 months after that, I'm at a party. The cops show up and bust everybody.
Yeah.
Well, they bust the people who weren't willing to run through the snow at nighttime, which was me. It was cold outside. If
hate the cold.
That's right. If my options were face the cops or face the snow, I was like, I'll take my chances with the cops.
There's no heater out there, so sorry, I'm not running.
It is. Yeah, it's 70s outside right now. He probably has a space heater on right now.
Yeah. And so I get arrested. They give me a minor in possession, and I'm laying in this. My friend picks me up and takes me to another friend's house, and it's me and 2 other guys. 3 of us went home from the party that night together, and I'm laying there sleeping in this guy's little brother's bed, which is like big enough for my torso. So I'm laying there, intoxicated, miserable, realize like, what in the world are you doing? And it was that night. That's the second moment. That was the night that I went, Lord, I won't do this anymore. I'm done.
Yeah.
And my prayer was, if you'll forgive me of the front yard moment, then I'll turn this back over to you.
Yeah.
So I called Frank next day.
Yeah.
And said, hey, I want to talk to you about, getting my life right. And he's been in the ministry a few years. He's been around the block.
Yeah.
And so I'd burned him the first time.
Right.
And so he tells me, I remember this. He says, I'll tell you what, Robert, I want you to sleep on it. And if you feel this way in the morning, then we'll talk.
Yeah.
And if you asked him today, this is what he'd say. He'd say, I assumed that Robert had woke up because he was intoxicated the night before, felt bad about it, and was in like this moment of like shame, saying things that he really didn't mean. And tonight he would go out and get drunk and realize that that's not what he wanted with his life.
Right.
Well, I didn't.
No.
I called him at like 5 a.m. the next morning. He was mad.
Said, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, why are you calling me at 5 a.m.? Like, because you told me to call you the next morning.
You told me to do this.
So we meet at a Sonic drive-in in California, Missouri in his car. I walk there because... so in his office that first time, he prayed for me.
Yeah.
And he prayed that I would lose my relationship with the girl I was dating, that my car would break down,
Check.
that my health would fall apart, which I started having some of the issues that I've had this last year. Those started when I was younger. So I started having what probably were like autoimmune, heart-related issues in my life.
Yeah.
And then I would lose my job and all this stuff. And so in Sonic drive-thru at this moment, 1 year later, and some change, I've lost my job.
Yep.
I've been in the hospital multiple times over the course of that year with what doctors at that time thought were seizures, but they probably weren't. It was probably heart stuff and autoimmune. My relationship had ended. My car was broken down, and my life was a train wreck.
Yeah.
Like I was one step from homeless. I kid you not.
Yeah.
The car breaking down is funny to me. Like that's just the extra. And I hope
Like,
his car breaks
at least
down.
I have a car. At least I have a car. He's like, and Lord, take that away from him too.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was, I'm pretty sure that if Taylor Swift is listening to this right now, I think that her and I could make a few more $1 million.
Oh, you got songs for her.
Big listener of the
She-
Unfiltered
Taylor
Faith
Swift,
Talk.
she loves this podcast.
If she just writes a song about that year, like we'd both be famous more than she already is. I'm just saying. Yeah.
Oh my
But
god.
of course, I know nobody knows her. I mean, Travis Kelce is what made her famous, but it's okay.
That's true.
Well, there goes half our viewership.
Yep.
The Swifties.
Oh, is it the other way around? Got it. And so we're sitting in this Sonic drive-through, and I'm telling him, blah, blah, blah. And he just says, what do you want? And I guess I yelled, I want a family.
Yeah.
And so this is actually, I left one pastor that I lived with, but this is the third time in my life that a pastor looked at me and said, why don't you move in with me?
Yeah.
And so at 20 years old, I moved into their home.
Yeah.
And he said, now, Robert, we're going to go back to when you were like 12 or 13 and relearn everything that you didn't learn.
Wow.
And that was the agreement. If you're not willing to do that, you can't move in my house.
Wow.
And to give you an idea of how I was viewed at that time, the first night I stayed in their home, my mom, Shelly, I guess her and Pop were getting ready for bed. My room in that home was just across the hall and 10 feet doors. And my mom says to Pop, what are you going to do if he gets mad and decides he doesn't want to do what you want him to do?
Yeah.
And she goes, because I don't know if you've noticed, but you're not whooping this one.
Yeah.
And I guess Pop told him, said, I guess it'll be the last one we help.
If this one doesn't work out, sweetie, we just won't take any more.
But that's who I was. Like, there was
Yeah.
a genuine concern
There's a
that,
fear.
like, what if Robert loses it and
Yeah.
decides, I'm not doing what you told me to do.
Yeah.
Make me.
Hmm.
And I love him.
Yeah.
And he would have fought with all he had, and maybe even won, because he'd probably like hit me with a shovel or something.
That'd be fair.
But
Knock
I
you
was 220 and headed to Mizzou to play football. Like, I was
You're a tank.
that was the second strongest point in my entire life was that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was
Wow.
and so that's how they became from that day. They helped me get into college, helped me get my master's degree,
Yeah.
and my kids know them as Pop and Gran,
Yeah.
and it's family.
That's right.
So what year was that when you moved in?
Pause.
2007.
Pause. I have to go. Rosie's getting an award here in 4 minutes.
Oh, I can't wait to make fun
You're
of you.
you're already gonna
Zach,
be
how
late.
about I sub you out and you sit here?
So just so we're clear,
We upgraded again.
I was not prepared for this. So I do have my blanket on because I was just hanging out. But hello,
but
everyone.
but just so we're clear,
It's been a good podcast. I've been enjoying myself behind the camera.
He scheduled a meeting,
I'm sending this
which
picture
made us
to my
late.
wife.
You're talking about Zach Clunt.
Yes, Zach Clunt.
Okay.
He scheduled a meeting, which made us start late,
Yeah.
and then he has an award, which is like a participation trophy
Yes.
at Rosie's age.
Yes.
Which is like, yay, you showed up. Thank you for doing the bare minimum. And so he has to leave early.
Right.
It's very funny. I can't-
And he
happening?
wonders why we make fun of him when he's not here.
That's the right question. What is happening? I thought he was going to say he had to go to the bathroom or something, but he's like, no, gotta go. I was like, once again, another man leaving Robert's life out of nowhere.
Wow, that hurts. That's stings.
crazy.
That's unfortunate.
Okay, anyway, so back to Robert.
This
Okay.
is good.
So,
So- Now Frank and Shelly are mom and dad, are Pop and mom.
yep.
Great.
And so then from then my real life journey begins.
Yeah.
I'll give you 2 more moments,
Yes.
and then we can.
I do just want to say that while we were talking about that, I was looking up your Facebook. Like I was stalking your Facebook, so I went all the way down to that time. You were pretty scrawny. I think.
Oh, you could take
Brother
him?
Frank, I think that you could have taken him. So
Ooh, I like that.
I just want to say that he was a little scrawnier.
Let's do a tail of the tape here. So Frank, at that point,
Yeah.
is he pretty thick, pretty strong?
That's about when he had his back surgery. So
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay.
That's
Wow.
that's tough timing.
Yeah. Anyways, that was
yeah,
Brother Frank, I think you got it.
He had the old man strength though, and he wouldn't have fought fair. He would tell you there's no fair in fighting. It's just fighting.
Oh yeah.
if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
And so at that point in my life, I hadn't learned that lesson yet.
Yeah.
And so when
Go ahead.
when he kicked me then that probably would have ended the fight,
Yeah.
because I wouldn't have seen it coming. I've been waiting for someone to punch me in the head, and he would have been like, "Oh no, we ain't doing that."
What Frank did is crazy radical, and would honestly, people would advise against that. Don't you think? Like bringing somebody in, a troubled kid from the community, in to live in your home when you have a daughter in your home, and that's crazy.
Yeah,
Do you look back on that and what was he thinking?
I would have bet on myself. I'm just kidding.
There you go. I like it.
You're awesome.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to put myself in that situation. If
the Lord.
yeah, that's what it is, right?
Here's the crazy thing. For 3 pastors, so the first one is Don Derrickson, who brings me into his home, and
The latter end of high school.
Yep.
Yep.
And then after I move out of their home, and I move in with Dave Percival, who's another pastor at the time. He's planting a church in California, Missouri. And so he moves me into his home, and then I move out of his home into Frank's home.
Yeah.
And so the Lord supplied everything I needed to be what he called me to be that I didn't get through the life I had lived. And so it's like you can look back on your life and it can be woe is me, because some people could look at that and go, well, I've had to bounce around, and I left before I was born, and all the other ones were abusive, and then I had people that brought me into their home, but it never it was never permanent. I had to live with this family for 2 years, and then I had to go live with this guy for a year, and then blah blah blah. But when I look at it, that was God's divine intervention. So when someone says, why did Frank say that? Because the Lord placed it upon his heart to say that. The Spirit moved through him.
Yeah.
It's the only answer.
Mm-hmm.
That's so good. All right, so what are these 2 moments you want to share with us?
2 moments. So I get to college, and I'm still
got a little crazy hair.
I'm a little crazy still.
Yeah.
To give you an idea, the first week of school, there was I won't say who. There was a kid on the baseball team that got mad at me, and I'm sitting at this table with my friends, and like he threatens me, and I went to high school with this kid, and so like I told him either you go back to that table and leave me alone, or I'll embarrass you and all your friends right here in this cafeteria.
What'd he say?
Well, so there's 2 kids sitting at the table with me that didn't know me.
You're doing great.
I met them at college, so they've never met me. My best friend at that time, Brandon Kiesling, is across the table, who I've known for at that time like 6 years.
This is at the cafeteria.
It's at the cafeteria at HLG.
This is going to be a good old fashioned food fight.
It was going to be. There were words I used that I won't repeat on the podcast. I wasn't quite refined yet.
Yeah.
I'm still working on it.
Sure, rough around the edges.
And so my 2 friends start laughing, like that, kind of like that nervous, haha, he's kidding laugh,
Oh, yeah.
And Brandon Kiesling goes, guys, don't. This could get bad.
You don't
real
know
fast.
what this guy's been through.
And so like I got issues still. Like it's not like it all just got better overnight. Like I'm a nutcase at that time still. So freshman year, still kind of, fight mode. Like people talk about fight or flight. It was fight for me every time.
That's right.
I get this phone call. Hey, your biological mother is being ambulanced to the hospital, and because she's been beat up by her husband or whatever. This is the same guy that was in the home when I got kicked out in high school. And I'm like, okay. So I get in my car.
Ugh.
Now you have this whole drive to get mad.
It's an hour and 35 minutes.
Oh, yeah. That's not good.
And I guess somebody called Pop. So my Jesus parents that helps people to understand what I'm talking about now. So my Jesus parents that my kids know is Pop and Grand now. So I calls Pop. He hears what's happened. He knows me. He doesn't even have to call. Like he already knows I'm in a car headed for California, Missouri. And so he's calling me. I left my phone in my dorm room on purpose. So my phone's in my dorm room with my roommates.
This would be a really good action movie.
Who answer my phone,
Yeah.
but tell him he's on his way to California.
Yeah.
So I drive to California, and I kid you not, it never crossed my mind to not hurt the guy when I got there. There's only one thing that saved me probably from spending a lot of time in prison that night, and that was that after he beat her, he took a butcher knife and cut his liver in half. They had to life flight him to Columbia.
Oh, my gosh. Voluntarily? He did that?
Yep, tried to kill himself.
Mm.
So the next day, so I stay. The next day, bio mom gets out of the hospital. She's sitting on the front porch next to my grandma, my aunt, and my aunt. I come over, and I look at her, and I say, I know you're thinking about it. I knew she was thinking about going to see him. Didn't have to ask her. But if you go, we're done. I'm out. Never coming back to defend you. I'm out. I can't. I'm done. She went to see him, and I was out. We're friends to this day. I'll talk to her. No, there's no beef there. No animosity. No anger on my side. Nothing. But I meant what I said that day. And so that was the moment where it was like, okay, this is over. I'm done. I've got to live. I can't live this life anymore.
Yeah.
It's got to be something else. And so I walked away. And the Lord spared me, because had he been there, I had made up my mind when I left.
What was the scene when you got to the house?
Blood. Cops were out in the front yard.
Yeah.
They tried to keep me out of the house, but I went in anyways. Of course, they knew he wasn't there, so they weren't really concerned about that aspect of it. I didn't know that yet.
So you went in searching.
Oh yeah, I went in.
You were prowling. Yeah.
I was ready to end it.
Yeah.
I was ready to go. Okay, I warned. Well, and here was the thing. That day at his house where I hit him with the door, I told him that day. Like that was
That's
for
right.
me. That was, I warned you.
He wanted to go to the hospital before you got there.
I don't
He
know.
knew Robert Strong was coming
I've never
to
talked to
town.
him since then. Never talked to him since then.
Yeah.
And so that's what I was coming for. I was
Yeah.
coming because I told you. And I don't, if you're watching this, that don't mishear. That was wrong.
Yeah.
Like that was sinful.
Mm-hmm.
And but just I tell you that to give you an idea of how much work God had to do in my heart.
Yeah.
I was a mess.
Yeah.
And
So what
I've
would
never-
be like the theme of your childhood into now? Like, how would you categorize or summarize the theme of your life so far?
God can make something out of nothing. Like, I don't remember how I said it to you earlier, but I look at my life and I go, if the Lord could take me through all of that and get me to a place where I'm a pastor at Freshwater Church in Jefferson City, Missouri, surrounded by the types of people that I'm surrounded by. If the Lord can, knowing who I was and what I had gone through, if the Lord can do that with me, I don't know what you're going through, but if you'll just trust the Lord, I think for a lot of people, it really is in the faith and the mentality with how they view their life.
Tell me about that.
Well, I could look back on my life and make a whole lot of excuses for why I am the way I am. Like, I could complain, like I could whine, and well, Lord, if it's not fair. Other people got two parents that loved them and cared for them, and they grew up in a home that taught them how to be financially stable and helped them get through college with no debt, and they weren't abused, and blah blah blah. And you could look back on your life and you could really just go, you know what, Lord, I can't be any more than I am because you didn't give me a life that would allow me to be any more than I am. Or you can look back on your life through the lens of knowing that we live in a broken world that's full of sin, and which means there are going to be things that happen to people that are just terrible. And that's the curse of sin. Like sin doesn't care who you are. It doesn't. The devil does not care what life he wrecks. Or you could look back on your life and go, "Hey, man, I'm thankful that God showed up here. The rest of this is a train wreck, but look at God right here.
Yeah.
And then look at God right here, and then you can piece that together and go, I'm here now because, and I can go back. And so I could go all the way back. If someone said, what's the first, like, if you wanted to call it a God moment for you, what's the first one? The first one would be that my grandfather, who died when I was 2, was a preacher. And my grandmother says he prayed every single day that I grew up to be a preacher. Mm. Like, God knew. And so that's you can look back on that and go, okay, here's the first moment.
Yeah.
And so they took me to church. Like, I guess I lived with them a lot. You're 2, so I don't remember any of that. But I guess I lived with them, and
He prayed for you.
He prayed for me. And when I was 2 and old enough to talk or whatever, I guess I would tell people that I wanted to be a preacher when I grew up, or whatever that looks like when you're 2 or 3, however old I was at that young age. And then you look back on it and you go, when I was going through this stuff when I was young, I don't remember a lot of that. Some people remember a lot of their trauma. I don't. And even the trauma that I remember, I don't regret it. If someone says, hey, if you could go back and live your life differently, like if you could go back and have your biological father and your biological mother love you from the time you were born and take care of you, and And then they could be like the grandparents to your children and the great-grandparents to their children. And you could have this beautiful family line and all this kind of stuff, would you? And I go, no. I'd relive every aspect of my entire life, the good and the bad, if it means that I am where I am today.
You turned out all right.
That has to change, because I think I'm exactly where God wants me to be.
That's right.
Yeah.
So the second moment
Oh gosh, that was one moment. Here we go.
was marrying my wife. Here's why why it's the second moment. Hannah had she had no ability to even conceive. Hannah grew up in a home with a mom and a dad who loved her and cared for her, and they had issues, just like every family has issues. But she grew up in what I would call a nuclear unit.
Yes.
They were what you would think of as a traditional home. So she had no idea what she had walked into in marrying me.
Oh gosh, can't imagine.
Our first 5 years of marriage were, a train wreck would be an understatement.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
So the dysfunction, although you were conquering some of it, still followed you even into your marriage.
Yeah. And conquering my personal dysfunction as much as I could at that time.
Yeah.
There was still dysfunction. Even on a personal level, but I hadn't yet ended up I'd had 2 relationships at that point in my life with girls. So I had a girl that I dated in high school and a girl that I dated in college. Horrible. I didn't know how to treat women. I didn't, I wasn't like abusive or anything. That's never been an issue, but I was more neglectful. Like I just, and so then I got married. This is funny. So my biological mother came to our wedding. I invited her to our wedding. And during the process, she told Hannah, just want you to know I taught Robert everything he knows about how to treat a woman. My wife later told me, thanks.
Oh,
because it wasn't good. Like,
Sure.
I didn't know how to do conflict resolution.
No.
I didn't know how to communicate. Here was my communication when we first got married. This is no joke. True story. We'd get in a fight, and I wouldn't talk to her for 2 weeks.
Oh gosh, 2 weeks is such a long time.
that's so long.
Like if you think about living with somebody,
14 nights you have to sleep.
Nate
Not
Bargatze
say anything.
has a bit about that. Like when you're having an argument with, you have to like pretend you don't know each other, like going through the same hallway, like, oh, excuse me. Yep, sorry.
Guys, when I say not a word, I mean not a word.
Yeah.
Like a single word.
And probably no emotion or anything. Or
No, I was anger.
yeah.
She would see me get mad. One time we got in a fight and I got mad. One of our first fights as a married couple was.
This is getting.
Oh, Hannah will think these things. We look back at these things now and we can laugh at them.
Good.
Because
Hopefully they
we
can laugh
see
on
how God
YouTube as well.
has grown us. You should. Hey, listen, embrace your growth as a married couple. If you don't, you'll just be bitter.
Right.
And so we got married, right? And she makes dinner, and Hannah watches these every week, so she'll be laughing at this point. She makes dinner. She knows the exact story I'm going to tell too.
It was a bad dinner.
She makes tomato soup.
Oh, good. You can't mess that up.
Just ketchup.
No, I'm sure it was a wonderful tomato soup. But
Oh,
you know what
no.
was not included in this meal?
Oh, grilled cheese.
Any form of protein.
Oh, I've had the same fight with my wife.
I was so mad. I was so mad that to this day, every time she makes tomato soup, she makes a joke about putting sausage in it.
Yeah. You got to.
I was angry. So we have this fight, right? And so I get mad and I leave the house.
Over tomatoes.
Yes. And I go to the disc golf course because I want to play disc golf, right?
There's no protein there either.
No, I'm just mad at this time. And I came back home with a puppy.
Oh, nice. That is such an emotional roller coaster.
Oh my gosh.
So
I'm telling you.
you don't like the dinner. I go play disc golf for 2 hours, come back home with a dog.
Yeah, I threw my disc in this lady's yard, and I went around
She's
to
like,
ask
"Oh,
her
you
if
want
I
a
could
dog?"
get it. And she had this little puppy on her
No
front
way.
porch, and I asked her about it. She's like, "Oh, I don't know. It just got dropped off here. I think we're just going to let it die. It looked like it really sick." And I was like, let it die or have it. They're just going to have it killed or do something. And I was like, well, I'll take it. So I took puppy home.
What was the puppy's name?
Granger. It was a Mastiff.
Oh,
Grew
really?
into a 120-pound dog.
Oh my gosh. That's awesome.
And when you brought the puppy back, was there an apology from your mouth, or was
No.
Yeah, just hey,
That was the apology.
Here's a puppy.
Yeah.
And this is how I say I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Or you thought you were still
she
right.
hated the dog. That was not an apology to her.
I'm sure. All right, so your story is fascinating, right? How God's worked and how God's even using you today here at Freshwater in Jefferson City. And so you kind of growing up in this dysfunctional home and being somewhat of a Jonah prophet where you kind of keep running away from the call to ministry, but the whale keeps swallowing you up in forms of preachers. Hey, come live with me. Come live with me. You finally surrender to the ministry, and here we are today. You know, we're focusing a little more on the 0 to 20 life, but Lord's used you, and I know I can say for our church, we're thankful for you in your ministry here.
It's been a roller coaster.
Posture.
Sorry, I was doing a little stretch there. I was not prepared to be on camera today. So here we are.
Any last words?
I think that I would say that, you know, one of the things I think people don't do enough of is appreciating what God has done rather than being overwhelmed with what they feel like he hasn't done. And what I mean by that is when you read your Bible, you encounter a lot of messed up people. You hear my story, but I don't know. You go read the story of Joseph.
Yeah.
Like, that dude's story sucked. But there's never any complaining. Like, you don't really hear that from him. Not much. And there's no moment where God sits him down and says, let's work through everything that's gone on. But rather, God just continues to point him along the way and showing him how what is happening is a part of something bigger and more important. And it is a part of his plan, even though it sucked.
That's right.
Yeah.
Abraham, same thing. And even when you find someone who complains, like Job, God's like, you want to complain about your life and what I've done and how I've done it. Well, why don't you ask me, Job, Job 38 or 39, where he's like, pull up your big boy britches. I got a few questions for you. Were you there when I laid the foundations of the world?
That's right.
Where
were you?
Where were you at? And so I would encourage people who have had what they might consider to be a difficult life, because here's what I would say. Your greatest level of difficulty is whatever that is. For you, probably, if I had to guess, it would be the loss of your father. It would be probably the hardest moment of your life.
Yes.
For you, whatever the hardest moment of your life has been, that's what you know is the greatest difficulty.
That's right.
And it's really kind of relative. Like, I can tell my story and other people can be like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe you've been through that. Mm-hmm. But the reality is someone else over here who maybe I would look at their story and I'd go, you really haven't been through anything. But to them, that's the worst.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Like, that is so I think, on one level you have to have some grace and compassion for people and whatever it is that they're going through. And don't just look at your story and go, well, their story's not as bad as mine.
Right.
Yeah, well, God's grace may not have shown up as powerfully in their life as he has in yours either. Like, God doesn't give you more than you can handle. Like, he knows the limits of you, and he knows the limits of himself, which is limitless. So as long as you're walking in his grace, there is no amount of suffering. There is no amount of pain. There is no amount of unfortunate events that could possibly happen to your life that God can't carry you through. Mm. And I think most people look at it from a human standpoint of, fairness and what I deserve and what I should get and what everyone else is getting, when we should rest in, as long as I am who God has called me to be, that I'm okay with whatever it's taken to get me there. And that's where I hang my hat, is I hang my hat on, you know what, God, if all of that you worked, if you really do work all things to the good of those who love you and are called according to your purpose, if that's true, and you've taken my life and worked it into the good I now get to live in, then I'm okay with it.
That's right.
That will be more liberating to you than anything you're ever going to experience.
I think things that you said that really stood out, and I think will stand out a lot to our hearers, is you wouldn't change your past.
No.
And some people spend so much time and effort and energy trying to change what has happened or try to make sense of it. And it's really just, what does God want me to do tomorrow?
Yeah.
What does He want me to do today? And that's really helpful.
Yep.
I see that. I can give testimony to your life as your co-pastor here and co-laborer here at Freshwater. You really don't let your dysfunction in life and that you grew up in affect the way that you lead our church today. You know,
Yeah.
That's good. That's really good. Anything you'd like to share or add to it?
Nope. Just glad to be here.
Yes. Yes.
You were an upgrade
Yeah.
Thanks.
You know
to the
what?
show today.
Next week we might just start our podcast out.
Yeah, I think Zach
Yeah.
Clunt is the new camera guy.
Like
so.
my life, I don't regret that we ended up in a position of having you today.
Oh,
Let's go.
that's good. That's
Way
a
to
great
just
way
bring it
end.
around full circle.
I think we should not think about the past.
That's right. Yeah.
So was Zach even here today?
I
Here's
don't
what we
remember.
should think about. We should think about joining next week in the Faith Unfiltered podcast. We'll see you then. Thank you so much for joining us.
Bye.